back to Nora Sleep. What are you doing? We're live.
Seriously? We're doing that.
What were you eating? Matzah now?
Yeah, Pesach Sheni.
Pesach Sheni. You ate matzah on the first Pesach. You love it so much?
Yeah, I have to tell you. So Pesach Sheni today, 14th of Iyar. Today is the day that if you couldn't do the Pesach sacrifice, originally, back in the beginning, back in temple times, or even in the wilderness times, what did you do? Came back a month later and you had the opportunity to have your matzah and your Pesach sacrifice all over again. So here we are, second chances.
Yes, we always need those, right? Enjoy.
Thank you.
So we're back with season 4, our second episode. You know, it's nice to see people out and about, people coming to shul. The Shkama Minyan was bursting by the seams.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. We had people come all the way from Leeds for the Hashkama this past Shabbos.
Really?
Well, we had a baby naming, of course. So.
Ah, right, that's right. Mazel tov, that's right. We had a few simchas.
Yeah.
So we had what do you call a bar mitzvah at 14?
Yes.
It was nice that Joseph was able to have his second chance, talk about second chances, to do his laning at 14. And he did such an amazing job, the full Sedra and Haftorah.
Yeah, and a real tribute to Joseph, really part of the HGSS establishment. His great-grandfather, Rabbi Bornstein, was the rabbi of the shul who lost his life in the front lines during World War II, and his widow was taken care of by the community. And now for his great-grandfather to be looking down from Shemayim at him laning such a beautiful job, it's really such an important part of the HGSS story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lots on the program today. Today we travel to Boca Raton, Florida, to visit some good old friends of ours, Rabbi Ephraim and Yocheved Goldberg. The Goldbergs and we go back a couple of decades since we've been in the rabbinate together, and over to meet the Goldbergs in Boca Raton Synagogue.
Mm-hmm. Rabbi Ephraim and Yocheved Goldberg, what an honor to have you guys here. This is Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, the Oprah of rabbinic Jewish programming, and here you are on RSD TV.
It's an honor to be here. It's great to see you. I don't know about the comparison, but it's really great to be together. It's been too long since we've been able to spend time together.
So wonderful to see you every year at the Archei Kalafi Yeshiva University. Now you host them, but of course we go way back to Boston days, Master number 2. And that year when you were worried about the hurricane coming, but now I hear that you've even had hurricanes in New York.
It follows wherever we go.
It's going everywhere these days. It's not just a Florida problem. It's everywhere.
So it's been a tough year. It's been a tough year all around. And tell us some of the challenges that the Boca Raton community has dealt with and how you guys have been dealing with it as the congregational leaders. What's been going on?
Sure, go ahead.
I'll start us off. Florida's become a very popular place to move. It's really just unbelievable what's going on here. Every house that is up is for sale and gets sold in 2 seconds. It's very, very popular right now to move out of work, move out of the city, move out of that kind of life. It's just been very hard in those communities, in those cities. So the people are coming down south and moving to Florida, which is wonderful. And we're thrilled and we welcome everyone. Problem is, during Corona, it's been really hard to welcome everyone. We don't have the same communal programming. We don't have the same in-person events, all year round. There's scholars and residents, and there are dinners, and there are simchas, and there are, the Purim Carnival, and so many different programs that allow us to all congregate and be a community together. And that's how people meet. They're face-to-face, they, with each other's kids, and you invite people for Shabbos meals. It's a very warm, inviting community. This time of Corona has not been able to allow us to do that. And so all these new people moving in are kind of moving in under the radar. We don't even know some of them when they move because they don't come in a shul necessarily yet, or these programs. So that's been really challenging for us. We love to invite and we love to welcome, and we try to be a very warm community. And it's hard to do that when we're not in person yet fully. So
yeah, that challenge, it's been a perfect storm. In other words, if nobody moved in because there's a pandemic, then it wouldn't be a challenge that we can't welcome. But we have probably the most people who've ever moved in than ever, and we don't have the ability to welcome them well. So there's kind of shifts that are happening without even being able to really know about them or navigate them. It's changing. We're coming out now. We're beginning to be able to regroup and welcome and learn and meet. And that's been one wonderful change that's coming back. But we all know well what a nightmare it's been to navigate policies on a daily, not a weekly or monthly basis, daily. What's the news? What's the data? What's the science? What's the public policy? What's the halacha? Where are the people at in terms of will they be compliant? And each day, how can we help people make their simcha in a way which will be a real simcha? What should we be doing about davening? Can we have food, kiddush, shal shidduch, shavuos this year? Masks, no masks. Will there be a food component? Are we staying up all night? How do we do it? How can we not do it? I think that we don't appreciate about ourselves and others don't appreciate about us. And it's true on an individual family level as well, but the decision fatigue that's happening. We are now in month like 13 or 14 of having to make more decisions a day than we've ever made. The level of decisions, the consequence of decisions, the impacts, there's decision fatigue. It's getting old and it's getting exhausting.
I think we have a somewhat easier here. So Hampstead Garden Sabbath Synagogue is flagship synagogue of United Synagogue, but it's all one body. So we're not having to make those decisions at a local level. And we just kind of get told what to do. And with things like this, it makes things easier. We just, hear what the rules are and then run with them.
But now, is the shul open now? Are you running programs in the shul? I'm assuming you have services going on?
Yeah, the shul's actually been open most of the year. It really did not stay closed down for that long. We have a governor who has been very fundamentally committed to reopening. In fact, legally, at no point did we have to close down. Houses of worship in the state of Florida could have been open with no masks and no distancing the entire time, which part of what we had to do was remind people that we are governed by the principles of safety, not by necessarily just what the government establishes. So we've been open, distancing, masks. We have davening. We put up a large tent outside, so we have many minyanim indoors. We have the outdoor option. We've had to, because the space is more limited because of the seats being spread out, we had to introduce a lot more minyanim with frequency. We start from the middle of davening, from Nishmas on Shabbos, not necessarily, or started from Yishtabach during the week. Many of the minyanim have gone back to the beginning. And part of what we're exploring is some of the things that we took out that we haven't been able to do are things that we're grateful to have been able to remove, and we're not running to put back. Some of the things we miss, we long for, we can't wait to put back, right? And other things we're like, you know what? Nobody misses it. Not sure we ever really wanted it. Maybe this is our chance and our excuse to not put it back, right. Including, it turns out that nobody is missing the 20-minute drushes. They're just as happy to have 10-minute drushes, 10-minute sermons. So, and I'm also happy trying to learn to adjust to that too. So we're open.
Everything's streamlined. The pomp and circumstance of the services are a little bit more, you don't have them walking around the Torah through the whole shul. Everything's a little more streamlined. And I think
we've consolidated. And I think that that's probably the way of the future, where it forced us, Corona forced us to trim the fat. It financially, in our family, in our lives, what's essential, what's non-essential in every area, and shul life and ritual is one of them. That we're learning to do things differently. But we pivoted early on to bring the classes that we're doing online, and it's kind of addictive to be able to do it online. In some ways, more comfortable, convenient, having reach much further than the people who could physically be there. But obviously, that's not the way that it's meant to be forever. We're going to go back to in person at some point.
Talking about online classes and reaching people, I think probably one of your most famous online pieces is Behind the Bima. Now, I will tell you that Norris Lee TV was not plagiarized from there, which coincidence.
We copied you.
But just to see what you're doing was like, whoa, this is great. So who came up with the idea? And just tell our viewers a little about it so that they can tune in each week to some fantastic programming.
First of all, it's so kind of you. Thank you so much. We'd love to expand our audience overseas for Behind the Bima. What happened was, when we were shut down, the only way we were connecting people was virtually through classes. And as you know, the classes are so impersonal. Basically, you start the Zoom or the YouTube Live or whatever platform you're using, and you get right into what you're teaching, and then you wish everyone well, and you hang up. And there's what used to happen before and after davening. How are you? What's going on? How was your mother's surgery? How did your child's driver test go? It didn't exist. There was no kiddush. There was no social, informal overlap. So a couple of the rabbis were like, why don't we do that? We'll connect with people that way. They could write comments. They could ask questions. We'll just have banter. We'll explain some of the decision making and bring them behind the beam of what we're doing. We actually started out by calling it Coffee Talk. I don't know why. Coffee Talk with the Rabbis at 9 p.m. We were drinking coffee at night. And we did it just the three of us. And then it evolved into having a guest each week and became Behind the Bima, had certain segments that we've played with and which we've removed. One of our most popular ones was with having our wives on, the Rebbetzins on, having the other rabbis and Rebbetzins on. We actually, I don't know that you've ever done this on your show. It ended up, the show is normally an hour, a little over an hour. This episode was 3.5 hours long. It was a not normal. We just kept talking, enjoying. Some of the people were texting me privately, I got to go to the bathroom. Could you just end this, please? Desperately, could you end it? So that was. Will
it continue?
I think so, because the feedback we've gotten, people are, depends who you ask. I'm only laughing because we don't see eye to eye. I say, if you're making a dinner or simcha Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, I can't be there.
That's not real. There's a conference that you're flying in for. I'm saying Wednesday nights are not always going to be, could be home at the desk and doing your radio show. And the second thing is that who knows if things are still going to be on Zoom and people are going to want to tune in this way.
You think Johnny Carson and David Letterman went to weddings at night when their show was being filmed?
I'm saying it's not exactly your job.
You think Oprah would go out?
Yeah, but this was Oprah's job. You have a community to run. This is a nice
No.
We'll see where it goes.
This is the unscripted kind of thing that we do.
I'm not against it. I just don't know if realistically.
This is the excuse not to go to the weddings.
The reality check.
You'll represent us.
Yeah.
So, how's your family doing? You had an engagement and a wedding during COVID. Tell us how the family's holding up.
So it was definitely an interesting time. Not easy to plan anything during Corona. We have a mitzvah coming up in a few months. We're starting to think about how to even handle that. It's definitely complicated. The interesting thing is our first daughter got married not during Corona, but with her planning her wedding, being a rabbi's daughter, we have a very large community. We had to figure out how to have 1,300 people at a wedding, how to structure it. Should everyone be there? Should we not have anyone? So that was a really stressful planning of a wedding because our community situation was unique to us. So we had to, for our second daughter's wedding, we already from the get-go could not invite the community. Couldn't be, you couldn't have.
We're trying to get them all married off quickly before Corona ends.
Like there was no chance of that happening. And her wedding planning was challenging, obviously, because of Corona. But the comforting part with that was that we were anyone who was making a wedding was having the same exact discussions, the same exact decisions, where to do it, how to do it, what. So that was comforting for us that we were in a whole group here of people who were all making weddings and all couldn't figure out how to do it best. And so that was, that was a little bit easier in that way, but it was very challenging. We actually planned an entire wedding in Florida, only to realize that at that time, Florida was a little more, there was more Corona cases. People would not have been comfortable flying in, and we realized no one's going to be at this wedding. Our community is not coming because we can't invite over 1,000 people. We can't. So what are we doing? And we ended up literally we had everything in place for a Florida wedding. We moved the entire wedding over in New Jersey. Had to replan an entire wedding. As you know, there was a hurricane that day. The tent flipped over. The curling iron in the middle of the hair shut out because there was no power. It was very stressful, but Baruch Hashem, they're married and they're great. But their whole dating, engagement, relationship, they'd like 2 or 3 dates before Zoom and Corona started, and then the rest of it was really through this whole Corona. And we really felt like this is a good, solid relationship because they were able to maintain it strong throughout Zoom, and then having to date, during Corona and all the requirements and restrictions during that time. So it happens to be that we they were good, which was a nice thing to see.
It's a great example that I think the fact that we planned the Simcha, we were very blessed to do it. It made us better Rabbi Rebbetzin, because when then we were interacting with our members doing that, we experienced it. We were one of them. We knew what that was like. And I think in the rabbinate, I know you both have this experience too. The things that we go through, both for good and the challenges, they position us to better relate to and advise and connect with and help people. So it was a bracha to have a simcha. We were beyond grateful for that. But it was also a bracha to make a simcha even during Corona, as challenging as it was, because it let us, also know the experience a little bit, go through juggle those decisions and such. Our son-in-law first started dating that way. Only recently, the shul, we changed our policy right after Pesach. If you're vaccinated, if you're either leading davening, reading the Torah, or giving the sermon, you could remove your mask while you're doing it. So the first day I took my mask off to give a drasha, my son-in-law came to me afterwards and he said, and mind you, he's married now for several months. He said, that's the first time I've ever seen your face while you speak publicly, because he'd never seen it. Just so he didn't for the longest time, even after they were married, even now to a certain extent, he's like, I've heard that you have a ton of guests, you have people at your house. I don't know yet if I believe it. I heard it's a big shul, a ton of people. I haven't seen it.
Right.
So, he's still not all bought in yet.
What's the family Goldberg bumper sticker?
Our family Goldberg bumper sticker is whatever mommy says. No?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Got it wrong.
No. I mean, we could describe our parenting philosophy. I don't know.
What's our bumper
if we have a
sticker? What do we want
bumper sticker.
what do we want our kids to know?
We want them to be proud of where they come from, of who they are. I think that pride, closeness, we try to promote that.
Loyalty,
Loyalty, yeah.
respect of other people.
Yeah. We also promote being involved in community and caring about people
It's a
outside
very
of
long
you,
bumper sticker, by the way. It's like a big van, 18-wheeler
That's a lot we
truck
try
bumper
to do,
sticker.
right?
It's got to fit on. But no, I think we do. I think we try to emphasize to our kids all the time the gift of being in a rabbinic family, the beauty of being having access to all kinds of diverse people, the gift of being able to be involved in their lives in vulnerable moments, and that they trust you, let you in, that you can make a difference. You're not watching from the sidelines. And those are the kind of conversations that we're often having at our dinner table.
Outside of your own Dalit Amos, to look outside what people need, what's going on in the world. That's all stuff we try to encourage.
Yeah.
Well, Yashikar, Rabbi Rebbetzin Goldberg, for everything you do for American Jewry and for all of us. And thank you so much for your time today coming on to Narasli TV.
Thank you for having us. It's great to see you. And we're looking forward to letting our viewers learn about this show as well and bringing them together.
Thank you. Great to see you.
You too. Take care.
Thanks so much.
That was quite the segment. I do encourage our viewers, check out Behind the Bima. Really exciting stuff. I mean, just the other week he had Robert Kraft from the New England Patriots, and they get some good guests on there. So do check it out.
Right. It's very. It's like a radio show, and they're also very innovative into. I mean, like many shows did. They went virtual, they went online, and to really come to the community during this time. So it's really nice. And one of our features at Norris-Lee TV is to always have a nice little book recommendation. And interesting, we have a very interesting one from Vivian Wineman, talking about Sapiens.
Yeah, so we started last week the Anglo-Jewish Canon, and I'm not sure that this quite cuts the Jewish piece, although of course Yuval Noah Harari is Jewish, is Israeli, but this was obviously a global bestseller. Vivian Wineman, a leader of our community, former president of the Board of Deputies, and certainly his voice weighs heavily on communal decisions, and I think in this case what we should be reading. As we go into the interview now with Vivian, we're going to check how many of you were actually watching and how many of you just do Narasli TV in the background while you're washing the dishes. We're going to test you on Shabbos. Something very interesting happens in the background. Have a watch.
The book that I will recommend is Sapiens by Yuval Harari. I'd recommend it to anyone to read, but I think it has special interest to us as Jews. First of all, the title is great. The idea that it's a history, not of a nation or of a community or of a person, but of our species, and we are one species. And at a time of pandemic or the other problems that we're having, we have to realise that we're all in it together, and our biggest problems, say the pandemic and also climate change, affect us as a species. It has special resonance for us as Jews because he talks about the emergence of mankind, and the Bible talks about God creating man, but Son Menukid was saying that all man is created in the image of God. Harari is going along on with this. Also, he has his theory about how mankind achieved domination over all the other hominins that existed at the time and over all other large mammals. And this is something that is already expressed in Bracious long before the emergence of modern technology. Bracious talks about man being given dominion over the fowl of the heaven and the beast of the earth. And it's already there from the very beginning. And then it talks about something which is so important, and Harari deals with, that our brains are the most complex object in the known universe. And that's a remarkable thing, that such an amazing object is actually sitting on our shoulders, more complex and more developed than anything else in this vast universe. He then comes along with so many insights about the development of mankind. Some of them are controversial. This idea of the cognitive revolution, I can't make a judgment on. I'm not a biologist, let alone an evolutionary biologist. And a lot of the judgments in history are interesting, but they can't be conclusively proven. But it brings a tremendous sort of perspective to this, which is very valuable to all people, particularly to us as Jews. One of his themes is that systems are based on myths, and he talks about the Hammurabi Code. And the Hammurabi Code is in some ways, in some forms, rather similar to the Code of Laws in the Torah. But in crucial things, it's very different. For instance, in the Hammurabi's Code, if you blind a commoner, it's a much smaller sentence than if you blind a superior person, a nobleman. Similarly, if you kill somebody's daughter, the penalty for that is your own daughter gets killed. These are all ideas that the Torah militates against. It talks about the Torah is for equality for mankind and has a very different take on cross-generational punishment. The book carries on with insights throughout history, but ends up with talking in our own times about how the impact of external events is not half as straightforward as we imagine. If people have great success, its impact on their happiness is very, very doubtful. And simply many of the blows that people suffer don't have such an impact. It's what, as the Bible teaches, external success is not the secret to a successful life. Ohev kesef lo yispa kesef. People who love money will not be satisfied with money. It's a great breed, and I recommend it.
It's interesting that Vivian chose Sapiens as part of a Jewish canon. I will say, of course, Harari is a bit of a colorful character, and his opinions are certainly not traditional from a Jewish perspective, but it's nice that Vivian could take his ideas and challenge and show what Torah has to say about some of the things that Harari thinks are new, not thought of priests in the past.
Yeah, so we have Lag BaOmer coming up.
Yes, Lag BaOmer this Friday.
Very exciting time, during the period of the Omer where we don't have any simchas and music and so on and so forth, and hair cutting. Yeah,
especially, here, Minhag Anglia is that we do the Omer from the beginning of the month of Iyar through to, actually the beginning of the month of Sivan, and then there's a break in the middle, that break being Lag BaOmer. Now, if you look into the Mishnah Berurah, he explains that it wasn't really necessarily clear when we had to mark the 33 days.
Right.
And that's why we have all of these diverse minhagim.
Because it was to celebrate the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva who died, right?
Right. But when did they stop dying? They stopped on Lag BaOmer and then they started dying again?
Right.
But so the Mishnah Berurah explains that it was a period of 33 days, and then there were different practices as to how we did it, which explains. Here we have Lag BaOmer that was chosen as a break point, even though it continues afterwards. I think about our pandemic right now, and it's really hard to be able to say, okay, this is the end of it. And no doubt back in the day as well, Rabbi Akiva wasn't saying this is the end. After Lag BaOmer, the next day.
But we're feeling it. We're definitely feeling it.
Yeah.
No masks in the outdoors, minyanim and
singing at Hashkama, no masks at Hashkama.
Right.
Please God, soon Kabbalat Shabbat maybe outside. But I think we have to have a moment when we say, okay, the pandemic is behind us. The corona is still here. Sadly, people are still dying. People are still suffering. But the pandemic as a pandemic is over. And it's time, if you haven't yet made your way back to shul, it's time. It's time to say, when is that moment? When is your Lag BaOmer? When is your moment that you mark the end of the pandemic and you say, it may not be over completely, but life is going to move on and come back to a sense of normalcy.
Yes. It's time to go out into the field, right? I mean, there's the concept of, one of the stories of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, right? That they had to be in a cave and study, they had to hide from the Romans. And that's why we have the kids play bow and arrow.
That's right.
That's right. So
you visited a bit of a field this week, Rabbi Ned.
Well, virtually. We're very exciting. We do have our own members, as we mentioned. Julian and Jeremy Friedman. We did last year Lag BaOmer. We went virtually, visited their farm, and this year there's a new enterprise, a new charity actually. It's in charity called Sadeh Farms, and I interviewed Naomi Verber and Talia Chain about their new project coming up. So let's go over to hear more about that. Welcome, Talia and Naomi, to NLTV TV.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. So Talia and Naomi, I invited you over because you have a very exciting project that you're in the midst of, something new and innovative, all about farming and out in the acreage. So looking forward to hearing all about that. So tell us first a little bit about yourself and how you got involved. So Talia Chain from Golders Green originally, and now living out in Sadeh Farms. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I definitely didn't grow up very interested in farming or the outdoors at all, actually. I would very much have considered myself a city girl. But in 2014, I went to an incredible, corny to say, but transformational program at a Jewish farm in America called the Adama program, which I highly always recommend. And it really connected me to the land and to my Judaism through the land, and really, really inspired me. And I came home and I was like, we have to have this in the UK because America's far to go. And yeah, I just kind of looked around for some land. I learned a bit more about food growing, found other people interested, and I stumbled across this kosher retreat center that had been going since the 40s, owned by the Jewish Youth Fund, called Skeet Hill House. And many school trips had happened there and all sorts of different things. And I just asked them if I could start a little kind of market garden where I do outdoor Jewish education for the children coming to the school trips. And that was in 2017. And then Sadeh, the charity that I'd created at that point, focusing on Jewish outdoor education, took over the whole site, which is 7 acres. It has this big kind of 17th century manor house that had been used by this retreat center. And yeah, we've kind of grown ever since then, running fellowship programs and educational days and this, that, and the other. And that's how I came to live here.
That's amazing. So where is it located exactly? It's in Kent?
It's in Kent. Yeah, but it's on the border between Kent and London. In Orpington. It's just south of London.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. So we have here also Naomi Verber, chair of Golders Green Dunstan Road Shoal, and as well involved in the Sadeh project. So Naomi, what's your involvement and how did you get involved with it?
Hi, well, thank you for inviting me along. So I'm a very recent addition to the Sadeh family. I've known Talia and her family for many years through Shawl at Golders Green. And I've been very inspired actually by Talia and the work that she was doing out there, slowly starting to understand more about our environmental responsibilities and trying to bring some of the ideas that were being built at Sadeh to our local Shawl, trying to raise awareness around sustainability within our own community. And I recently left my job as a management consultant at a firm that was out for 15 years, doing a very sort of corporate job, and was looking to work within the environmental sector. COVID was happening, lots of things were changing, and I spent a very magical week at Sadeh last summer where we, a bunch of families hired out this big house Talia was talking about, just in a very informal basis. And whilst I was there, I was just mesmerized by the beauty of the place, the education that was available from the educators like Talia, who were on site, who are professionals, I say the Jewish professional farmers and educators, and they were sort of teaching us about the land, about the wildlife, about composting, about all these sorts of things. We were picking our own vegetables and eating them that evening. It was a really inspiring experience. And when I left, I just couldn't get this idea out of my mind that this would be a perfect place to sort of grow into, as Talia said, a more like a guest house, place where people from London could go, not as school groups, but as families, and enjoy it in more of a sort of hospitality holiday way. Talia and I seem to have sort of been on a very similar page, put words in your mouth, but we spoke in the winter. And Talia, do you want to sort of say where Sadeh was at and why our ideas kind of collided perfectly?
Yeah, it was just, we'd been closed for a long time, since March, of course. And I just was really thinking it would suit kind of small family groups, encourage families to come and engage with the activities we were doing. And then Naomi called me and told me that she also had that idea. And I was like, wow, we're telepathic.
It was one of those phone calls that you'll remember.
Absolutely.
Where I was actually driving back from Stamford Hill, and I called Talia, and I just said, look, I know this sounds a bit crazy, but I've just not stopped thinking about this since August. Your place is perfect for this eco sort of hospitality idea. Do you want to do it? And I'm available now. I've left my job. I want to work in this area. I'll do it for you. And that's kind of,
that's amazing. I mean,
how it started to come about.
Absolutely. COVID definitely, taught us a few things, and to go back to the basics, right? And to be able to appreciate things around us and the nature. I know there are a lot of people just, that's what all they could do was just do the once a week, once a day, walk around the area. And so that's brilliant that you're able to have that opportunity now for people to enjoy that. So what kind of activities are there on this Sadeh farm?
We are busy writing our program schedule actually for this summer, but you get to meet the chickens, you get to learn about picking your own salad. We have very amazing hedgerows. So learning about the kinds of things that you can forage and eat straight from the hedgerow. We have a little Havdalah garden, so you might do an activity like make your own basamim. And we talk about, how our religion is so agriculturally based and how we can practically do those demonstrations. I remember last year when Naomi was there, we were harvesting wheat. So we were, thinking about the Shabbat Melachot and like thinking about crushing wheat and doing that, and seeing that actual practical connection between our like very land-based religion. So we love to do stuff like that.
That's
amazing.
Amazing.
Literally threshing. I mean, I didn't even know, you hear threshing when you're Lamatem Malacha, but you're actually doing it and separating. And it's a fantastic way to bring these concepts to life in a way that I think kids and family from all ages would find really enjoyable. My 2-year-old was loving it, and the older kids were loving it, so were the adults. So it's a sort of thing that I think is cross-generational.
For sure. And so with this guest house, you plan on having food there, providing meals and as well? So you're having meat as well? Or, I mean, is it vegan? Is it? I'll tell you why I'm asking, because we have actually a member of ours who lives out on a farm. I don't know if you know Jillian and Jeremy Friedman.
I do know them, yes.
Yes. So I actually took the kids out there, and it's amazing. You're right. You see the beautiful, nature and the animals around you, but they're completely vegetarian, if not vegan. No, they're not vegan. They're vegetarian. So people who come for Shabbos there, they can have their meat chalent. Will we be able to get our meat chalent in Sadeh farms? guest
will
house.
not. Sorry, there will be no meat chillent.
Okay.
But we will be doing an excellent vegan chillent, which I'm pretty sure you won't know the difference. That's been one of my tricks at Golders Green pre-COVID, and the good old days of the Kugel chillent kiddish. Many a time we would, people would choose a vegetarian chillent. I did that for my son's Brit, and most people were none the wiser because they're delicious, and if they've been cooking long enough, they taste the same. But the food side is actually highly complicated. We are going for the gold standard kashrut with the London Vet Din, who have been, I'll do a big shout out for them because they have been incredibly supportive of this idea, and have really sort of been hand-holding us the whole way through. It's completely new for them and for us to not be in a Jewish centre. The logistics of the food, the kashrut, the everything that goes into it, how it's all planned and paced and served. With COVID thrown in, it's highly complicated. But they're working with us kind of like every day on that. So that's really exciting and new for me as a sort of area to explore and manage. But the food, the big sort of experience at Sadeh is being able to sample food that's been grown on the farm, and that's the magic of it. We're working with a professional chef who will, be developing menus based on the seasonal fruit and veg from the farm, complemented with local produce. One of the easier things about not having meat or poultry is that you can use local suppliers for the food that we're having. So it's going to be delicious, it's going to be healthy, it's going to be sustainable, which is one of the narratives we want to get across. And that will be something that people come away with, hopefully understanding that you can have an alternative sort of lifestyle regarding food and still enjoy it.
That's great. So what's the planned date, and how many can actually fit into this guest house? How many can you house?
The 30th is our big opening. 30th of May is our opening week, and we are sold out for our opening week, which is
wow, that's amazing.
so that's exciting and terrifying at the same time.
I can imagine.
And it's small, like Talia said, it's a guest house, so it's 25 maximum capacity. It also, that lends itself well for the programming that goes on. So you have a nice cohesive group who can interact with each other, learn from each other, and sort of have a nice sense of like one big family sort of weekends or stays when people are there.
Wow, that sounds very exciting. So we wish you lots of luck, lots of slacha with it. And I know you're under construction at the moment. So when it's it's half term, May 30th, so it's a great week to start. I hope to come down and hope to get a visual of it, and maybe invite you back on to Norsley TV so we can show our viewers
absolutely
the actual place in its all its glory. So Yasher Koach, and making giving us that opportunity and really making a difference in this world for Tikkun Olam, to help us giving us the opportunity to be environmentally friendly and do the right thing.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Thank you. We look forward to seeing all of Norsley at Sadeh.
100%.
Short weekend, a short trip, whenever you want.
That's right. We'll have to do a few of them over the weekend.
Pick your favorites.
Good groups. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sounds really wonderful. I know it did take you a year, but you managed to get me out to the Friedman's farm during Chol Hamoed. And today's segment will end with, well, I think you think it's a little anomalous to see someone drive a tractor with a suit and tie, but...
Yes, you believe it when you see it. So, I mean, this Sadeh farm is quite interesting because it's opening up half term. So hopefully I will be able to get out there on site and give you real visuals. They're all under construction now. And there are limited numbers but as she mentioned, they're all booked up for half term. But again, it's a vegan farm, so no cholent.
I'm not so worried about the cholent. I just want tractors. Are there tractors there?
Oh, okay. I don't know. She didn't mention that, but there is by Friedman's.
Yes. Boys and their toys.
Boys and their toys. So we'll go check, and with the kid on the lap, that was really quite scary, but he managed to do it right well. So we'll go show this little clip here. Hey, he's driving a tractor with Ella Bracha. Does he know how to drive it? Where's he going?
everybody Pesach Sheni Sameach
Yeah,
and
and
Lag BaOmer Sameach.
yeah, and you know, as we are easing out of lockdown and people are coming out more, you know, we'll do a few more features. I think the May 17th Shavuot, we're looking forward to hearing new guidelines where we'll be able to be more at ease. So we probably have just a few more episodes left.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Please God, we have many, many more episodes because, like they said, in Boca, some of the things are here to stay.
So we'll see you next week, and we look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully.
Yes, yes. Chag Sameach, and now back to my master time.
Enjoy.